I once dated this girl when I was in college. She was a junior, and I was a sophomore. I did almost anything to please this girl. That's kind of how it was back then. If you wanted to date the hot chicks when you were a younger grade than them, you stuck it out and did whatever you had to be with them. My friend at the time had a theory. The hotter they were, the crazier they were. And I had to agree with that to a point. The girl I liked to do things that not many would. The girl just liked to do crazy things. She would sometimes stalk classmates from class to class, just so she could jump scare them. For some reason, she also had this obsession with making real-looking papier-mâché snakes and leaving them in her friends' dorms. That I thought was always hilarious, actually. But one thing we really did make me question was it worth being with her at the time? One of her hobbies included researching and practicing witchcraft. On a few occasions, she asked me to bring a dead animal with me when I came to see her after class one day. She decided to take it a little farther. We went out on a date after class, and she wanted me to meet her at the cemetery. Not only did she openly mock the dead just to see if she could get a little rise out of them, but she would sometimes dig up bodies from the graves and take their bones for her witchcraft. Now, keep in mind, I'm not sure which cemetery she was doing this from, since most often have security, and the fact that many are done in concrete slabs 6 feet under the ground. But anyway, she did this when I wasn't with her, so I was just going by her word of mouth. I don't know if she could realistically still do this. Anyway, I told her that that was not something I would not do. When I got there, she told me to relax because we were going to try something else. She had brought her car. I pulled 2 chairs and a table out the back of it. She pulled a box from the front, and I saw the inside of it was a Ouija board. I told her she must have been kidding. She told me that I could leave if I was going to be a chicken. I gave her a dumb look and pretended to go along with whatever crazy plan she decided we were going to do. She took out the board and lit the candles at the edge of the table. Along with the Ouija board, she had set down a small black bowl and lit a fire in it with matchsticks and some dried grass. She pulled out some dirt from another bowl and sprinkled it into the fire and grabbed my hands, placing them on the Ouija board. She called out to the graveyard if anything was there. I didn't dare try and play around with her at this point, so whatever was going to happen, I was going to let it happen. The planchette began to move, and it settled on yes. She asked what was the name of the thing there with us. The tile began to move, but it was moving around more than it should have. She told me that there were multiple spirits there, and they were fighting to take control of talking to us. After a few moments, the tile stopped moving and began to move again. It spelled out the word Dallas. A spirit named Dallas was talking to us. She asked him how he died. The planchette moved around to spell the word murder. Before she had a chance to ask him something else, the planchette was moving again. It spelled out the words leave, run, and finally, be gone. She asked Dallas why she shouldn't be there. It spelled out the word restless. With that, she stood up and told me to start packing up everything. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me when a spirit tells you to leave, you leave. I thought she was playing with me the whole time, but she said the word restless was different than a spirit saying anything else. When a spirit mentions this specific word, it's almost like it's a contagious disease. Any other spirit in the area of another restless one also became restless. That meant more spirits being attracted there, and not all of them would be friendly. Anyway, I don't know why I stayed with that girl as long as I did. She was clearly into more crazy things in a week than I probably was in my whole life. After that, I still saw her in class every now and then, but the rumor was she was getting into much darker stuff than I was. Guess I got off the crazy wagon just in time. I thought I knew everything there was to know, But I was sorely mistaken. I used to be a party girl in high school, and I usually was the life of the party. I had excellent grades and was very popular after joining the cheerleading squad. Anywhere I went, I was the center of attention, so there almost wasn't anything at a party that I wouldn't do. I've tried many kinds of liquor. I've smoked and done many kinds of drugs. I even skinny dipped in a neighbor's pool a few times. I wasn't scared of what would happen to me, because simply, I never really got into trouble when I had done those things. And anything bad for my body could just work out in a morning run. So, during a party at my house, my friend, who we'll call Diana, told me that she was bringing over a new party game that we hadn't tried yet. I was excited when I was setting up the party and putting all the food together. I asked her if it went along with our floral horror theme for the party, and of course, she assured me it did. As my school friends and guests began to arrive, I put on a spooky Halloween and creepy music playlist so everybody could get in the mood. We planned on watching a scary movie, telling stories, and then playing whatever game Diana had brought afterward. When the movie was on, I didn't get too frazzled by it. I had seen many scary movies before, so I wasn't scared easily when the movie came on. I think it was about an orphan boy that was recently adopted by a family with a mother, father, and sister. The adoption agency couldn't say why, but that boy was always sent back for not fitting in with the family. Anyway, the movie continued, and I went to the bathroom and came back to see my friend April hiding in the closet. I asked her why she was there, and she told me that she had some kind of PTSD about movies like that. Anyway, I thought nothing of it and came back to the little boy murdering the new family. Turns out the adoption agency kept getting the boy back because something bad always happened to the family that adopted him. Whether it was a car crash or a home invasion or something else. I wasn't spooked by it, but I guess others were. I turned the creepy music back on, which set the perfect mood for the scary stories we were going to tell. One person told a story about an old mummy. Some told a few ghost stories, but the one that interested me the most was some of the ones my friends told, a continuation of the story of the movie. He said that those things happened because a demon from the dark was attached to him and made bad things happen to all good people. He also talked about what demons could do and why they did those things. That demon that was attached to the boy was a specific demon that fed off the weak and killed those that were too good to be in his presence. I thought that made sense, considering that in the movie, they said the boy had never been to church. Afterwards, Diana began turning off the lights and lighting candles around the room. I already knew what she was doing. She had brought an OUIJA board. I had heard stories and seen the movies and those things were in it, but never had I had the chance to use one. When Diana bought it out, I saw April trying to leave. I stopped her at the door and asked her why she was leaving. She said she didn't really like those things, but I convinced her to stay because I thought they weren't actually real. Everybody got in a circle and placed one hand on the planchet in the center. There was not enough space to put both hands on because, well, there were about 14 of us or so. Diana began talking and asking questions. She asked if there was anything spiritual or otherwise in the room with us. It moved immediately on the board, responding to her. Yes. She asked if they were talking to the other side. The piece on the board moved everyone's hand back to yes. One of them laughed and told whoever that was moving it to stop. As they did, they were having a prank pulled on them. Diana asked the board if what they were speaking to was human. The piece on the board then moved to no. After it did that, I saw April fall over in her spot and pass out. I crawled over to her to see if she was okay, and I tried shaking her awake, but she wouldn't wake up. I told everybody to hold on while I waited and walked to the kitchen to get some water for April to wake up. The living room where everybody was was an open area that you could clearly see into the kitchen from. I turned on the nightlight to grab a glass of water. I could hear that some of my friends were freaking out in the living room and talking about something. When I came back, I could still hear the creepy music I left playing that started to sound scratchy. It was starting to echo. I knelt next to April and splashed the water on her face. That set off some kind of chain reaction that I could not fully understand. I splashed her with the water, and as soon as I did, the music turned into a loud, high-pitched scream, and all the candles Deanna lit blew out. Everyone but Deanna and I ran out of the house with a moment to guess. We looked at each other as we saw April sit up. She said something dark, something that I couldn't understand. The closest thing that I could relate to was the boy from the movie earlier. He was possessed and speaking in these dark, grudgy noises. That is exactly how April was sounding. Diana was now terrified and was staring right at her. I ran to grab a pan from the kitchen, and when I ran back, I saw April choking her out, and so I smacked her in the face. The next morning, I had gotten texts from my friends and from the party, saying what a great prank I'd pulled on them. But that's not how I remembered it. After that day, April became weird. Just really weird. Totally different personality. I don't know what she did or what she was into now, but if it weren't for my actions, she could have choked Diana out, and possibly to death. From all the things I've seen, I really don't know if she was just possessed or if she was jealous of Diana. Either way, I never hang out with her again because, like I said, afterwards, her entire personality changed. Anyway, I have no desire to participate in something like that again if it was my choice.